the same justice as anybody else, and that's why we're here. So give Lam a big round of applause, everybody.
Hello everyone, solidarity. Can we just give a massive round of applause to all the young children here today, by the way, who are our future leaders, they're the next generation, and I think it's safe to say we're in very good hands. So my name's Lamin Touray, I'm an actor, an activist, I guess you could say I work in the media. I've been employed by the BBC multiple times, but what I'm not going to do is stand here in fear of speaking out and speaking truth to power. So I've written a speech down, I'm going to share it with you. I'll try and rattle through it because it's, I don't want it to rattle on for too long. And I'm also going to tell you about an upcoming fundraiser that we've got going on. So while the world keeps spinning and people carry on with their lives, we must remain a constant reminder on the street, week in, week out, as we have done for the last 20 weeks. Manchester is always on the right side of history, and I'm proud to be out here with every single last one of you. Now, we all saw the media's response to Ukraine. We all saw how organisations responded to the war in Ukraine. Now, I've struggled with that so much. These buildings and politicians have exposed themselves, and we must never forget that. For example, let's look at the tragic case of 6-year-old Hind Rajab, who was killed by Israeli soldiers, and how the media reported on that. Now, BBC World News tweeted, Hind Rajab, 6, found dead in Gaza days after phone calls for help. Now, when a young Ukrainian child was killed, this is what the BBC World News tweeted. Ukraine war, baby killed in Russian strike on Kharkiv hotel. Now, language is so important. They have dehumanised black and brown bodies for centuries, and the media has a responsibility to report on the horrors and say it exactly how it is. Now, I'm not a journalist, but I'll help them rewrite that headline. 6-year-old Hind Rajab shot and murdered by Israeli soldiers after calling for help. Ambulance paramedics who rushed to help her were also murdered. Now, she wasn't found dead as if she just passed away. She was killed, a young child. This is a war crime, and sadly Hind Rajab isn't an isolated case. There are 12,000 other children who have had their lives brutally taken. Now, what side of history do you want to fall on? It's not controversial to criticise the Israeli government who kill thousands of innocent children, women and men. It's not controversial to call for an end to this violence, so don't let anyone ever make you feel like it is to want that. Thankfully, millions of people around the world are seeing what's happening thanks to social media and the brave journalists and photographers on the ground in Gaza. There's a movement happening right now, and every single last one of you here is a part of that movement. People who want to live in a better world free of discrimination, free of violence and terror, free of greed and power. And sadly, that is what this war and many wars all boil down to. Now, because we're talking about media, I'd love to quote a British music artist called Getz in his recent song called Double Standards. And in that song he says, I was on a phone with a pal of mine. They asked me why they're helping Ukraine and not Palestine. I replied, brown skin. We were so whitewashed. And then later in the track he says, what's war? War's rich white men playing chess. What for? Well, it's all about the land they finesse. Now, I don't think those words could be more relevant than they are right now. Now, they're trying to make this about religion. It's just a perfect way for them to divide and conquer. But millions of people from different faiths around the world are calling this out for what it is, including our Jewish brothers and sisters who shout from the top of their lungs, not in our name. Now, I was at the United protest with some of my brothers here and a few other people a few weeks ago, and tens of thousands of fans walked past us and waved the Palestine flag and held banners up calling for a ceasefire. And it was a difficult day. When you go to a non-political space, you really start to get a sense of what the public opinion is. We're around like-minded people here, but when you start to go into, like I say, a non-political space, you start to get a different idea of what people think. Many fans stopped for photos in front of the signs and the flags to shake hands, walking past with a thumbs up, cheering us on. Some stayed impartial and walked past without giving anything away. Others, sadly, were enraged at our presence. They were angry and hate-filled, shouting abuse at us, calling us Hamas terrorists. And we're the ones full of hate, apparently. Now, there's been a lot of misinformation spread around online, but I'd love to just quickly share the words of one of Manchester United's greatest ever players, and that name is King Eric Cantona. Now, King Eric said on his Instagram to millions of followers, defending the human rights of Palestinians does not mean you are pro-Hamas. Saying free Palestine does not mean you are anti-Semitic or want all Jews gone. Free Palestine means free Palestine from Israeli occupation that's been robbing them of their basic human rights for 75 years. Free Palestine means stop caging 2.3 million Palestinians in the world's largest open-air prison, half of whom are children. Free Palestine means end the apartheid imposed by the Israeli government. Free Palestine means give the Palestinians control over the basic infrastructure in their land. Well said, Eric, well said. So what's this got to do with us? Why don't we just keep out of it, some people might say. So let's talk about British complicity. Britain has licensed £474 million worth of weapons to the Israeli state since 2015. Those weapons, some of which are manufactured in the UK, are used to kill innocent human beings. Thousands of them are children. What type of government do we have in power? Yeah, they're digging their heels in and refusing to call for a ceasefire simply because of greed and profit. Some of the media might call you anti-Semitic for criticising the state of Israel. We saw the successful media smear campaign of Jeremy Corbyn, a long-standing anti-racist who has constantly stood on the right side of history, calling for an end to apartheid in South Africa, speaking up against the illegal Iraq war in the early 2000s, and has been a constant voice for the voiceless and campaigned for a free Palestine for decades. Yet he's the racist one. Although I know it's scary to sometimes speak out for what is right, we must come with clean hearts and the best intentions and keep our integrity intact at all times. And talking about integrity, Sir Keir Starmer. Yeah, nearly done. An ex-human rights lawyer is complicit with these war crimes, and when he asked, he said Israel has the right to cut water and electricity to a whole population of people. The UN has said Gaza is at risk of famine. In recent footage, thousands of Palestinians are desperately searching for food and aid, and the Israelis shot at a group of people literally going for food. Now, I don't want to talk about Rishi Sunak, that goes without saying. The Tory party are vile, but sadly, with the Labour Party, they're hardly a better alternative with him as a leader. We need a whole new system, because I'll tell you for free, I'll never vote Labour again. Now, big up South Africa for being brave enough to challenge the West and speak truth to power at the ICJ. You have our full support. So what now? Where do we go from here? Literally, one more minute. The answer is, I don't know. Millions of Palestinians have been displaced. They don't have a home to return to. Millions of people have been traumatized. How do they rebuild their lives? Now, we have to fight for a better world for us to live in. And in the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, he famously said, when there's an injustice anywhere, it's a threat to justice everywhere. Right, I'm going to round it off. I just want to quickly say we're doing a fundraiser next Thursday, the 29th at the Naya Mosque. It's going to be raise funds for crucial charities. Hope to see you all there. Love, free Palestine.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, we're just going to do a quick bit of information about how we keep each other safe. There's lots of children here, so please be aware. Please look around. Just make